Welcome back, focused learners, to another explainer. Today, we're tackling a totally critical topic for anyone prepping for the fundamentals of engineering exam. And honestly, I'm going to give you a literal cheat code to absolutely ace the safety questions on this test. We're looking at the Globally Harmonized System, or GHS. By the end of this session, you'll have a foolproof, 4-question framework to just effortlessly breeze through these questions on exam day. Let's get into it.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start by introducing GHS and safety data sheets. Then we'll break down the anatomy of a label, compare hazards versus precautions, dive right into our 4 questions for FE success, and wrap it all up with a solid exam practice strategy.
Section 1. Introducing GHS and SDS. Let's explore what GHS actually is, and why standardizing safety across labs and industrial sites is just so absolutely vital for us as engineers.
So, starting with the basics, what does it actually stand for? Well, GHS stands for the Globally Harmonized System of Classification and Labeling of Chemicals. Now, as engineers, you're going to encounter hazardous chemicals all the time. The whole purpose of GHS is to give us a unified, standardized method to instantly identify those chemical hazards and communicate them with crystal clarity across literally any workplace. It's like a universal language for safety.
This system really relies on 3 major purposes to keep people safe. First off, it explicitly defines the health, physical, and environmental hazards of specific chemicals. Second, it provides rigorous classification processes, taking chemical data and comparing it against established criteria. But it's this third point that is the real moneymaker for your exam, communicating hazard info via labels and safety data sheets, or SDS. This third purpose is where everyday safety actually happens, and trust me, it is heavily tested.
Okay, before we go any further, I need to point out a classic exam trap. Watch out for this. If you're using older study materials or maybe chatting with veteran engineers, you might hear the term MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet. You got to remember that under GHS, the modern, standardized terminology is simply SDS, Safety Data Sheet. Don't let an outdated acronym completely throw you off your game on test day.
Moving right along to Section 2, Anatomy of a Label. Let's see how all this builds a highly structured system by breaking down a GHS label piece by piece.
A standard GHS label is definitely not just some generic warning symbol you'd slap on a box. It's a highly structured, data-rich system. We're talking key elements like a product identifier, supplier identification, hazard statements, precautionary statements, pictograms, a signal word, supplemental info, and first aid measures. That's a lot of info, right? Well, let's isolate a few of the most critical elements that exam writers absolutely love to target.
First up, please do not confuse these two on the FE exam. The product identifier is the name or number used to identify the hazardous product itself. It literally tells you what chemical you're looking at. Supplier identification, on the other hand, gives you the name, address, and telephone number of the company that provided it, so it tells you who supplied it. What the chemical is versus who supplied it. Keep that distinction super sharp in your mind.
Now check out the difference here between a text-based alert and a visual alert. A signal word communicates the level of attention or warning. It's text-based, designed to grab your focus right away. But a pictogram, that's a fast graphical representation. It uses standard symbols so workers can visually recognize a hazard without reading a single word. So the signal word alerts you, while the pictogram visually paints a picture of the hazard. Make sense?
Section 3, Hazard versus Precaution. We are officially entering high-yield exam territory here, because mixing these two up is honestly the #1 reason test takers drop points on GHS questions.
You're going to want to pay super close attention to this. A hazard statement communicates info about the danger associated with the chemical. It defines the danger itself, like what is actually dangerous about this substance. Meanwhile, a precautionary statement describes the exact measures you should take to minimize or prevent bad effects. It gives you the protective measures. Basically, what should I actually do to protect myself?
I want you to lock this exact phrasing into your brain right now. Hazard statement equals what can harm me. Precautionary statement equals what should I do about it. If an exam question asks what communicates the nature of the chemical hazard, you know for sure it's the hazard statement. If it asks about protective actions, bam, precautionary statement. Nailing this distinction is going to save you so much valuable time.
Section 4. 4 questions for FE success. This is the big one. We are going to reverse engineer all that label anatomy into a highly effective 4-question cheat code.
This little matrix is your ultimate filter for instantly distinguishing between similar-looking answer choices. Let's walk through it.
When the exam asks, what is the chemical, your mind should immediately jump to product identification. When they ask, what is dangerous about it, you know the answer is hazard statement. When you read, what should I do to protect myself, zero in on precautionary statement. And finally, if they want to know who supplied the chemical, you look for supplier identification. By internalizing these 4 specific questions, you completely bypass the dense regulatory jargon they use to trick you. It just cuts straight to the core function, making it the absolute quickest way to lock in those safety points.
Section 5, FE Exam Practice Strategy. Let's take this 4-question framework and apply it directly to your broader study plan.
Look, I really want to reassure you here, do not turn GHS into some massive rote memorization exercise. There are thousands of chemicals out there and so many specific pictograms. For the FE exam, just focus on understanding the overarching purpose of GHS, the role of labels and SDS, and the exact function of the elements we just talked about. If you understand these functional relationships, you can logically deduce the answer to almost any conceptual question without having to memorize a giant textbook.
Here is the overarching logic sequence you should mentally walk through every single time you see a GHS label, whether you're in a lab, on a site, or sitting for that exam. Step 1, identify the chemical. Step 2, understanding the warning level. Step 3, recognize a specific hazard. Step 4, take the necessary precautions. And Step 5, know the supplier. That is literally the fundamental logic of the entire GHS labeling system, all distilled into 5 easy steps.
To wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you in the hot seat with an actual FE-style question. Listen carefully. Which GHS label element describes measures intended to minimize or prevent adverse effects? Well, can you use your new 4-question cheat code to instantly identify the element dictating protective action? Just think back to our distinction between what harms you and what protects you. Lock in your answer, trust your new framework, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.